What's up, man?
Not much, man.
How's it going?
Just working. Still
Yeah,
quarantined a little bit, so can't
right.
complain. How's everything going with you?
It's good. It's good. By the way, everyone, this is Trakksounds. He's very well known music producer, but he's also our music production professor here at Pulse Music School. So yeah, let's get started, man. I just have a couple of questions today, and then we'll just kind of chat about stuff. But what got you into music?
So I've been doing music since a young age. My dad was he played guitar and harmonica and sang in a band. My aunt, she played a lot of instruments, and it was just something that always, like, you could tell it was something I kind of just had in me. Some kids you can pick up certain things in music. Some kids necessarily aren't really interested, and I was one of those ones that was interested in how things were done, what, instruments and stuff like that, even, early on. So music kind of chose me at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Yeah, that's really cool. Same here. It's funny how always like family or parents at a younger age are always kind of that inspiration. It was the same thing with my dad. They'd always like bring out drums at like family events and things like that. Since my dad's from Lebanon, mom's from Mexico, so different parts of the world. But there's always like music, percussion, and things. That's what got me into drums. So it's just always cool hearing from people how they originally got into music. It's
For sure.
Most of the time like some kind of parent or aunt, uncle, brother, or whatever. Cool. So you're a really very talented music producer. You work with a lot of artists. So how did you get to work with all these bigger artists like Wiz, ASAP, Chamillionaire, and all these guys?
Man, a lot of it, besides just, I've been doing this a long, long time, and I have had doubts and wanted to give up and just kept persevering. And that's one of the things I think that has gotten me to work with a lot of artists, is just consistency and not giving up, too quick. Taking the highs with the lows and not taking stuff personal. But a lot of it really, man, like, besides just working on my craft every single day almost, where I'm trying to get better at music, I also like really have worked on the networking and the branding side. And I think that eventually over time just helped me to get an advantage over some other producers to, have my records heard quicker, and it's like there was times when I first started that I was at that bottom rung of not being able to get heard, but it just takes like I said, a consistent grind and networking and trying to meet people, and, don't be afraid to, work with some smaller artists and just to kind of get your chops under you. So really just, man, just a lot of consistency and just doing it for a long time and not giving up. That really is kind of the basis in the end, trying to figure out a way.
Yeah, and that's cool you said that, because there's always, there's a good amount of artists that try and don't make it. And I think that like a big reason is not they don't keep trying, that keeping that consistency. Or if it is maybe they invested in a music project and they spent too much financials on it, and then they kind of gave up that way. It's all just about that, keep getting a part-time job, and let's say while you're still doing that project, just keeping it consistent. So that's great you said that. It's just super crucial for you to keep things consistent, follow up, stay organized, and then you'll just shift up to that other level.
I was working multiple jobs while I was first coming up and going to school, all that bartending, doing everything I could. So like everybody does that. Like trust me, you do not walk into money in music. Like it took me years to make money in music, but I did it because I loved it. So it wasn't anything to me. I wasn't even worried about the money. The money came later. So
yeah, definitely cool. It's definitely, you got to be, I guess when people enter like a music school or anything like that, or like a music studio for the first time, they get super excited, which is awesome. They're excited about learning more, but then they sometimes think like overnight, all these things can happen. I'm like, no, there's a lot of hard work and hustling involved. But so yeah, you've worked with all these like big artists and stuff. And let's go back a little bit. So like, how did you get into producing music in general?
It kind of just, I was probably about 13 or 14. And I would just I'd really started getting interested in hearing stuff on the radio and stuff. And I was just like, how are they making the band? This is, when hip hop was really, really taking off and stuff. And it was like, how are they making these backing tracks? Like, it's not necessarily like they got a guitar and a band, you know, like you could figure it out with like a rock band, but it was like other things is like, how is this happening? Timberland was my like kind of first person that I would just like hear his beats and be like, how is he doing this? Like it just blew my mind. And you know, this is right when YouTube was kind of just getting new and things like that. So I really just kind of just started picking it up a little bit and started researching it. It was just something I was interested in, and you know, picked up a cheap program here, watched some stuff, started thinking I was the best producer in the world, and I've been making beats for like a month. Like, how is this? I'm like 15. I'm like, how is this not blowing up right now?
Yeah.
Like now looking back, it's just funny. But I mean, like, yeah, it was just kind of like an innocent thing where I just was really curious as to how they put these things together. It just blew my mind, like how they could get these sound. Like I just had no idea. Like couldn't begin to figure it out. So. And then this one thing led to another, and you know, 15 years later, here I am. So,
yeah, that's really cool because when I got into drumming like professionally and stuff, I was like, damn. Before all that, like of course, like Travis Barker was a big influence during that time of like, you know, between 2004 into 2010s.
For sure,
how he dove into the solo stuff and started doing. Playing as a drummer for hip hop artists, so I hopped on that. You know, I actually enjoy doing that the most, like playing drums for like hip hop or pop artists versus like a rock and roll band. Rock and roll is fun. Like I did a lot of that before, but it's just fun adding that acoustic element to hip hop. So that's really cool. So when it comes to like to producing music and all that stuff. And there's always the talk about placements, getting placements, and how you should promote yourself, market yourself, and things like that. So how did you get your, maybe I guess, first placement that was considered a placement?
Really, honestly, it was, you know, it goes back to a lot of the same things that we probably even talk about today. Really started the grassroots of like networking and being consistent. So this was right when Twitter, my first big placement was probably, I did a lot of ghost stuff, like, people took credit from me, and I was like 17, 18, 19, and I didn't really know what was going on. Like I did some like Nelly and the Saint Lunatics stuff, like, so I had some early on stuff, but I didn't really know what was going on. And then, you know, I kind of got more hip on everything and really started learning and started getting in some studios, and I got my first placement probably when I was about 20 or 21 with 2 Chainz. And it was just through, I had Twitter, and a lot of my big placements first just came through Twitter. Like Twitter was just starting. And I just found out who was working with what artist, who was managing who was an A&R, who was an up-and-coming artist under someone. I didn't really shoot for like, you know, I didn't shoot for the like big people really to start out with. I was like, all right, who can I kind of infiltrate and like work with and actually have a shot? And it, like one of the first ones I met, 2 Chainz was in a group player circle, and the other dude, Dollar Boy, who was, you know, he was pretty popular, but it wasn't as big as 2 Chainz at the time. They had the same A&R, and so I sent them some beats for Dollar Boy, and I wasn't even really trying to get on 2 Chainz. I wasn't even really like thinking about it. And one of them went to Dollar, and it came out, and it did well. But then not long before that, like a week or two before 2 Chainz dropped his Def Jam debut, they hit me up and they were like, "Hey, one of those records is going on that." I'm like, "What?" Like, that's crazy. And then, you know, just fast forward, I didn't know what the hell was going on at the time, but I figured it out very quickly. And luckily, shout out to my boy, King Sal. I'm pretty sure he still rocks with a lot of them and still works a good bit. He's, you know, helped me kind of iron it out, and he's the one that helped me land the placement. He was the A&R. Cool. So, it's just networking and getting on Twitter and not being afraid to say, hey, you know, like, let me send you some tracks. And, you know, a lot of times people don't respond, but, you know, all you need is one sometimes. And you don't have to necessarily, you don't got to hit up Drake. Like, find out people five steps away from Drake. You know, if that's who you want to work with, figure out how you can work with other people that are in that bubble. And you keep kind of just moving up, because you're 99% of the time not getting a Drake, you know, so, unless you get the relationship.
For sure. Yeah, that's definitely a good point. Actually, all those points are great, because that's how I do it sometimes too, with like for like trying to find a booking agent or a festival. I'll literally like do like some FBI search kind of, you know, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. Not a lot of people know, if you go to like an artist page on Facebook, I'll say 70% of the time, maybe even more, 80% of the time, they'll have at least the manager's email there,
Yep.
or the
Absolutely.
booking agent there.
Yep.
So yeah, those are great points. It's crucial, super crucial.
Yep.
You could be the best beat maker, but if you don't know how to like research, get creative, find ways to reach out to people, you'll just be stuck, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I've emailed a lot of booking at booking emails on like Twitter, and
yeah,
you know, maybe a couple placements here and there worked, and 99% of the time they don't respond, or they're like, this isn't the right email. But I've had a few respond back and they're like, cool, send them here. You know, like,
yeah.
you never know. Like, it's nothing ever personal, so you got to just ask. They don't know who you are, and it doesn't matter, especially when you're just coming up. So every once in a while you'll catch some lucky person that wants to hear some tracks, hopefully. So
yeah, exactly. Cool. So this is a cool question. So what is the most, I guess the most, when it comes to producing, what's kind of the most favorite artist you've worked with, I guess, or just like the most meaningful record you?
There's a lot. I always end up telling people Chamillionaire and Zero are probably two of my favorites, just because like a nostalgia factor. I grew up listening to them a lot. Yeah. You know, I can name like 5 or 6 rappers that I was like, these are like my guys that I listen to all the time. Mm-hmm. Those are 2 of them just because they're local and 2 of my more favorites. So working with them was a extreme honor. Like I said, nostalgia, like teenage me would just be so like duped by that, you know, like and there's been a lot of good ones. The Tink record I have out right now has been a really big record for me, because it's my biggest R&B record by far. Wow. And I did it solo too, and it was something that a lot of people didn't think I was capable of doing R&B and things. And I've had some R&B records that were pretty popular and stuff, but this one was like a smash, you know, like where you would be riding. Like I was in Atlanta one time on tour, and I remember somebody was driving by blasting it on the radio, and I was like, okay, that's how I know.
That's
like,
cool.
That's a record, you know. So that was a real big record for me too. But yeah, I would say those are probably some of my favorite ones. Cool.
Yeah, and all those you mentioned are great. Like I was talking to someone the other day about Chamillionaire, and I was actually still that was my last year in the UK, because I lived in the UK most of my childhood and like early teen years. But when did that come out? I remember that came out, I don't know, when Riding Dirty came out. I was still in England. I was like my last year there, and I remember there was MTV Hip Hop UK.
Yeah.
And or even actually all the MTVs, and I saw that. I saw Chamillionaire right there. I was like, dude, that guy's from Houston, and I'm in the UK, you know, and I'm hearing him. And then that's when also, I think a couple of years before that, was Still Tippin' with Slim Thug, and that was on UK charts. And I was like, that guy's from Houston too, man. What's going on?
Yeah, Houston had a crazy run for like 3 or 4 years that we just dominated stuff. So
yeah, for sure. That's awesome. Good stuff. So when is the moment you realized that you kind of made a career out of music? Was there like a specific moment or situation?
When I didn't have to bartend anymore. That was a good start, but I love bartending, but I was so glad to not do that anymore. Man, I would say that's a tough one, because there's really not a moment that I remember specifically being like, all right, man, like I got it. It just kind of like gradually grew. Like I'd make a couple $100 a month, and I was making a few hundred, and I was making 1,000, and you know, add on, and you know, got better, but it's pretty consistent. And then because I was getting placements, but I was still going to school, working jobs. Like I didn't think I was gonna, you know, be a music producer per se, to the point where I could actually like pay my bills and live off of it. So I would say it really just took over time, because then I started adding like hustles to it. Like, you know, I engineer more now, I record more, I DJ, tour, like a lot of different umbrellas under like my own kind of music thing. So there wasn't really necessarily a time. Like obviously every time I got a placement or got paid, like, you know, I mean, there was a time that I got paid more for a few beats from some guy just around the corner that had some money, that I was like, okay, maybe I actually can do this, you know, like that was just mind blowing, because, you know, I was bartending. I remember this guy brought me quite a few $1,000s to me in cash to the bar, and I made like $150 bartending, and it made like thousands just off some beats. And I was probably like 23, and I'm like, okay, maybe this actually is this is nice. Like I got this out now. Like I'll never walk out like that with bartending. So Yeah, it was just happened over time. Really, it wasn't necessarily one or two moments, but it was just a consistent grind where I just kept sticking it out, and then I just learned business better, learned how to cut my expenses, learned about taxes, all that type of stuff. Got a CPA and things like that, and then I was like, okay, this is like a legit business now. Like I'm not like faking it anymore.
Yeah, and that's cool. It's interesting. It's great. That's a great story. I mean, thinking about like just the music business in general, like just the major record industry and the business and the system. It's always important to be prepared because these things come out of nowhere, like opportunities, and yeah, being prepared is super crucial. I'll tell you a quick story. I have a friend, he DJs at Barbarella, this club in like downtown area in Houston. Mm-hmm. This was like 2014, 2015, a couple years ago. And he was just DJing at a normal time. It was like 1:30 a.m., the most packed, the most popular time in the club, super packed. And some guy taps his shoulder, some British guy, goes, "Hey, I have a song request." Like, no, he doesn't like song requests. Like, no, thanks. And he turns around. It's the worst thing to ask the DJ. People don't understand that. So apparently he turns around like, okay, what do you want? He's like, could I please request a song? He taps his shoulder again. He's like, all right, what do you want? He goes, I want you to play the British anthem, like the actual British anthem. Like, I said, no. He's like, I'll give you $3,000. And then he just turned around.
Play it.
Yep, he goes, I'll do it. And he literally played it. And he said the whole club was just turning it and like, what the hell? He was just laughing. And he got $3,000, you know what I mean? But yeah.
I am mad at it. Because I can imagine we paid for the gig and I would have been like, you only play it, like, can I play it a couple times and get paid?
Yeah. Dude, come back every weekend, man.
I'll put it on loop if you want me to. It's fine.
Yeah, but when you told me that story, I was like, dude, that is ridiculous. But anyway, just funny. End of story. You'll never know what could happen. Just always be prepared. Cool. So next one here, I got a cool question when it comes to like music producing. Do you have like a go-to software you like to use?
Yeah, I use Logic Pro X 90-some% of the time. Like I'm pretty skilled in a lot of them. I've been producing for so long. I've used FL, I've recorded. I can work through Pro Tools like nothing. I've tried a lot of them and, all the hardware ones and stuff. I've been producing that long that, I had to use hardware and record it back in and stuff like that. But Logic, I just like the flow of it. There's a lot of good, I've had a lot of my mentors were using Logic. So I just kind of naturally went into Logic more that way. So usually a lot of time too, whoever you look up to or like watch on YouTube or whatever, like whatever they're using, you're probably going to kind of naturally shift into, but there's no wrong or right. Each one has its like plus and, pros and cons to it. Depending on maybe what type of music you're thinking and stuff like that. But it all, I know I have one of my favorite producers, DJ Payne One. He uses Acid Pro. I don't even know what number they're on, but that's one of the oldest softwares possible. Almost prehistoric, but he's next level producer, like without a doubt, one of the most dope. And I have no idea how he does it, but it's just as an example of like, you can really make anything out of anything if you know what you're doing and you know how to use your tool. That's the thing too, is learn the tricks. Don't try it for a day and then you give up because you don't understand it. It's like really give it time and like try to learn it. And if you don't like it after you've learned it like a good bit, then cool, go to somewhere else. But there's a lot of, it's always going to take some time to get used to an interface and things like that.
Yeah, that's some good points because like it's almost like being a drummer and what kind of drum set you want, right? You can have like a cheap drum set, a more expensive one, but it really doesn't matter. You know what I mean? It's the same thing producing music. It's an instrument. If you find your groove and find how to use it, I mean, yeah. But I know we've talked a lot about softwares and interfaces and stuff. I'm an Apple person too, so I'm just hooked to Apple products. And I started off GarageBand, and I was like, no, I'm just sticking to Logic and GarageBand and AirPods and all that stuff.
I'm saying, well, I use stuff here and there for other things, but I'm probably never going to go away from Logic or anything like that. So.
Cool. Have you tried the new update? I don't know if
I haven't updated it yet.
Yeah,
I heard it's dope, but I heard it was they really just took out like one or two things and upgraded a couple of things and like added a sampler and stuff. So I'm gonna do it pretty soon. I'm always nervous upgrading stuff because like I've lost plugins and some weird session. Not even it's a natural upgrade too. So sometimes you gotta be careful like with your upgrade. I'm sure it's pretty sturdy, but I always just get nervous. So
some plugins missing or something.
Never know. No, I've had it happen before. So.
Yeah. You're like at the end of the song, some like files missing. You're like, no.
And it's like the one sound you need for that file.
Yeah.
Yeah. Been there, done that. So.
How does your beat making process work?
So usually I kind of start with the melodies first. That's usually my first thing that I like to focus on because I feel like the drums for hip hop songs are usually a little easier. You know, sometimes every once in a while I've started with drum patterns, but for the most part I'll play some old keys or like find some old chord progressions to some songs and just start messing around through some instruments or whatever I kind of feel like that day, and just start putting melodies together. And then there'll be different days where like some days I just do melodies, some days I just do drums on some melodies. Some days I just network and send out emails and send out beats and stuff. And then I kind of just go from there. But yeah, beat making wise, I usually just start with melodies and go from there because I feel like that's the hardest part and like biggest part to kind of get down. So
yeah, and I guess every producer kind of has just their own, right? I mean, just like writing a song or writing a guitar riff, it's kind of just. Yeah. I like to start, even being a drummer, I actually don't start with drums first. I like to start with like a melody. Or like
it just helps the flow of the song. I know some big songs though started with the drums. I always remember that Redbone by Childish Gambino. I was watching that and it said Childish Gambino went in there and started just playing the drums, and then the guy Ludwig, or if that was his name, but he started kind of playing around from there. So that was one of the bigger songs I've heard that drums came first. But a lot of times I'd say probably melody like that.
Melody, yeah.
That's very fun, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. So I guess in general, what inspires you every day? Like when you wake up or like working with the artists, producing music, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I think just in general, music inspires me. Music business sometimes definitely doesn't, but the music side does. A lot, and it's not every once in a while you lose that inspiration, you get caught up in the business side or something like that. But every day I kind of just figure out different people. Like I said, I'll listen to different artists, hear different music, and that kind of inspires me. Or kind of just go through different sounds. And some days you have to like almost manufacture. After you've been doing it a long time, you have to almost manufacture your inspiration and figure out what's going to inspire you that day, whether it's a challenge to yourself, an artist you want to work with, or something like that. Because after a while, the inspiration after years, it's like you got to figure out where it can come from at all times.
Sure.
Just in general, music being a passion of mine, it's always going to be around.
Yeah, definitely. Cool. Yeah, that's good. So I guess I'll do the last question here. So, what kind of advice or tips you have, let's say for beginner music producers that want to take it to a professional level?
Definitely learn music theory. You don't got to go to, some big music school, Berkeley or something, to learn music theory, but learn the basics. So you're not like that. That's like my main advice I give to all producers that ask me how they can improve. And if they don't know anything about music theory, well, that's step one. And if you do know a lot about music theory, cool. You probably need to learn a lot about the technical aspects of programs and what are some effects and what are all the kids doing that don't know anything about music theory that are making fire beats. Because you probably need to learn that aspect. Because when you can blend both of them, you're going to be like a next level producer.
Exactly.
And then, and then study branding and marketing. But if you're extremely new, then like at the moment, branding and marketing doesn't matter because you got to have the product to brand and market. So it kind of depends on what level you are in your music producer journey. But no matter what level you're at, you can either enhance your music theory and like piano skills or guitar skills or something like that, or you can enhance your technical side, like how to operate programs and
workflow and then mixing and mastering and things like that. So that would be if you're newer. But then if you have a pretty good product and you're honest with yourself and you think your beats can kind of compete, then you worry more about the marketing and the branding side. But in the first phase, you really got to have that product that people want before you can even do it.
Yeah, exactly. That's definitely some good points, because especially when you mentioned like music theory, because I had an interview earlier today with Denise, one of the piano and voice instructor here at Pulse Music School, and I talked about music production as it's like you'll really stand out if you learn like piano and music theory and the basics behind it, and then even studying audio or getting tips from one of y'all at Pulse Music School when it comes to production, learning about frequencies, balancing the mix, because then the music theory part, then it kind of just combines all together, you know, like, and then you'll learn how to make keys, catchy choruses that producers use in popular hits, and all that kind of stuff. So that's really cool.
Absolutely.
Cool. All right, man. Well, really appreciate y'all for tuning in. Again, this is Trakksounds. He's our music production professor. So sign up for a lesson. These are all virtual lessons. Pretty cool opportunity what we're offering right now. But appreciate you, man. Thanks for tuning in.
No problem, man. Yeah, appreciate you. Looking forward to it.
Getting it going. Yeah. Getting some signups. For sure. All right, man. Take care.
Cool.